So welcome. We are so glad that there are so many people here. It looks like we've got about 30 that are on right now, so that is wonderful. And we want to be sure, I am going to just check something here before I get going because it will mess up with something. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I know that might throw you guys off, but okay, we're good. Just wanted to be sure that we had sound for later on. So glad so many of you are here. I still hope that you can see the PowerPoint that. So we've got a great group of people here today, and we're going to go ahead and get started with things. And to do that, we're first going to, let's see how this reacts here. There, whoops, whoa, we went zipping ahead. Want to just visit about who we are as presenters. I'm Kathy Schwartzhoff, and I'm one of the mentoring coordinators at Helping Services. And I have been with the agency for full-time for 29 years, part-time for 3 years. I have been one of the three mentoring coordinators in the agency. I have been here as a mentoring coordinator for 23 years. I've been a certified prevention specialist, which means that I can talk about substance abuse prevention kinds of things with knowledge. And I've done that for 25 years. And personally, I have a wonderful husband, 3 adult children, 3 grand girls, and 1 grandchild on the way. So that's a bit about me. Denise, what would you like to share?
Well, it's interesting. When I prepared for this, I added up my years. And so I've been in the social work field for 27 years, and it doesn't seem possible. 15 of those years, I have been in school settings. 4 years I worked for an agency, and then 4 years I worked for the Department of Human Services doing child protection. I'm blessed to have a wonderful husband I've been married to for 25 years and 2 children. My son will graduate from the University of Iowa in May, and my daughter attends Mount Mercy University in Cedar Rapids and plays basketball. And decided that's not busy enough. She's picked up softball on top of it. So we stay busy still trying to attend sporting events.
Cool. And the people that pre-registered, we had folks that work professionally with youth. We have people in the substance abuse prevention world. We have parents and guardians, folks in the health field. Several mentors, which we're always excited when they are able to join us, college students and community folks that are just interested in this topic because they know youth. And it's very exciting that we have 3 states joining us, folks from Illinois, Minnesota, and of course, Iowa. We've got, I think, roughly 5 county, it's more than 5, but people that identified their county as Black Hawk, Carroll, Delaware County, Fayette, Winneshiek. I know we have some Alameda folks, some Dubuque folks, and Cresco, Decorah, Galena, Harmony, Howard Winn School District, Lansing, Lime Springs, Mount Carroll, New Hampton, Ocean, Postville, Strawberry Point, Wadena, Waukon, and West Union. So if there's any community that you want to give a shout out to say, hey, that's where I'm from, you are welcome to do that either by unmuting yourself or sharing in the chat. But we're very, very excited that we've got a diverse group of folks who come from different backgrounds, but also from different geographic areas as well. So thank you all for being here. So some things to keep in mind today is you're welcome to use your video camera as much as you are comfortable with. Some folks like it better to turn it off because then they can eat or do other things. It's just up to you. Mute your line for right now. If there's a point that you want to share any comments or have questions, you can either unmute your line or put your question in the chat. And Denise is checking the chat to see what there is happening there and is letting me know, because I can't see it at this point. And then today we are recording so that we will get you the actual recording when we're done. And there's other folks who have requested the recording, and we'll be sure to get those to them as well. And then there's some follow-up materials that we want you to have as well. Some things that we'll specifically identify that we want to make sure that you have. And if we have your contact information, you've pre-registered already, or we know you from other trainings that we've had, we have your contact information. But if you're new to us, we would love that you put your information in the chat. Your email is best. If you're not comfortable doing that, my email is on this slide, kathys@helpingservices.org, and you can add that information so that send me an email and let me know what your email is so that we can be sure to get you the recording and the follow-up materials that you will want. So that's some things to keep in mind. Sometimes when we do these topics, they're not so very much related to working with youth, but this one is right on the ticket, so we don't have to explain that much. But we don't like to do a little commercial about youth mentoring. And I've asked Sam Jennerjohn if she would share a little bit more about youth mentoring. Sam is in the Delaware County office. Sam, what would you like to visit about?
Yeah, hi everybody. I am home and not looking so professional today, so I'm going to keep my screen black. I hope everyone has stayed warm during this crazy ice storm we got. I just want to share how simple mentoring is, and the age group we serve is 6 to 16. It is as simple as a family, a couple, individual, high school students. I know here in Delaware County, that's a big hit. We are always looking for community members, high school kiddos to join and kind of be that example, that listening ear, that friendship, and just a role model to our youth in our communities. So yeah, we here in Delaware County and up with Kathy and Colleen are constantly looking for mentors and mentees. And we would love if either any of you guys would like to join or spread the word, because that is how we get most of our matches, is by word of mouth.
Great. Thank you. And we've got our contact information. You can look us up online and get that information there as well. So hold on, I'm just going to admit somebody, and then we'll move the slide to things that we're going to be talking about. Yeah. So kind of getting next to the things that we're going to be talking about today is looking at what is a difficult topic, looking at the developmentally appropriate kinds of things related to having discussions, what to do to prepare for those conversations, to actually have those conversations and talk. It's a few things about to keep in mind as you're talking and afterwards too, some ways to follow up, including looking at peer pressure strategies and resources. So those are the topics that we are going to be working on. And at any point, please ask questions so that you can get your questions answered, make comments, and we'll just plug away with things today. So next, we just want to share a little bit about the important role that you all have. And to remember that youth are less likely to use substances that are addictive if their parents talk to them early and often about the risks, to establish clear rules and consequences, and regularly monitor their behavior and their activities. And active involvement and support by caring adults is both critical to the prevention of youth substance abuse And remember, as youth grow, your conversations may change, but they always should be centered on keeping the youth happy, healthy, and safe. And those three things are things that you're going to hear us kind of come back to at different points, because their happiness, their health, and their safety are just primary things to recall. And you can see this statistical information too that reinforces the important role that parents play, and also other positive role models for youth. Now we're going to just zip right into things and look at what constitutes a difficult topic. And you can see here that there are some topics that are listed, but this is a point that I'd like you to kind of jump in and either unmute yourself or share in the chat. What to you comes to mind when you think of a difficult topic? What is a topic that you would go, ooh, that makes me squirm just a little bit?
Kathy, it's not just for kids, but I mean, even in the adult world, it's hygiene.
Yeah, good point. Thanks, Cindy. That's a good one. What are we seeing in the chat? Anybody?
I was just going to say family dynamics, death, substance use.
Good. And yeah, and that's kind of the thing to keep in mind is that, what constitutes it being a difficult topic is that sense that you feel uncomfortable about it. And there is no right or wrong related to this as well, from the sense that I look at that drugs as a topic that I feel real comfortable talking about, but I know my friend might be like, oh, I don't even know about that. I'd have to do some research on, kratom or whatever that's called. I don't even know who's using that or what it's used for or anything. So I'd have to figure some things out. And that's okay that it might have one person feel comfortable and another person it's just very awkward and uncomfortable. And today, we want you to be sure to walk away with some tools that help you feel less uncomfortable. But those feelings are a really good place to start with things. And to own your feelings, you may be feeling awkward, scared, worried, concerned, just all kind of angry about things or sad. And just own those feelings, but also be genuine when you talk, because kids see through that if you're kind of like trying to pretend that you're not sad. It's okay to let the waterworks go if that's what you need to, but you also need to be able to talk as well. And so give yourself some time to be able to explore those feelings ahead of time and get yourself in a place that you're calm and can have a discussion. So the feelings can help you have a conversation starter, which is like the little orange bubble there. This topic worries me a bit, but it's important for us to talk about. So it can give you a conversation starter. It also is something that you need to prepare your thoughts ahead of time. And so remember, keeping in mind that you always want that youth to be happy, healthy, and safe. Denise, is there anything that you would like to share at this point?
Yeah, I think the other most important thing is that you're approachable, and the kids, your children know that they can come to you with anything, no matter what. Kind of brings me to a time one night we're eating supper when my kids were back 5 and 6 years old. And we had a relative that was getting ready for the arrival of her baby. And they just kept asking questions. Well, how does the baby get in the mom's tummy? And it was interesting because my husband just turned beet red. He's like, we don't talk about those things. And I was like, oh, yes, we do. You can ask mom and dad any type of questions. If we don't know the answers, we'll find it. And I just happened to have a book at school Rufus the dog talks about babies. It had anatomically correct pictures and talked about how babies are conceived. And I told my kids, I'm like, I'll bring that home from school and we'll read it and talk about it. And since then, my kids have just come to me with other topics, or even brought their friends home to talk to me about topics. So I think it's important to be approachable. And if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know, but we'll find out.
Exactly. And that won't be the last time you'll hear that, because we'll be saying that at different points today. From time to time, we're going to be doing some scenarios of things that relate to the difficult topic. So you can advance to the next screen, Jen. So this particular item is related to grief. So we want you to give us an idea if you believe that this is true or false. When talking about grief with the first grader, it's okay to say that the person that's died is sleeping, because the youth is too young to understand death. What do you think? You can either unmute and say true or false, or you can put something in the chat, true or false.
There's a lot of messages popping up in chat, and they have a consensus going so far of people believing it's false.
Okay. And you can advance the slide one, Jen, because it should show false. There we go. And the thing to remember about this is we do want to use terms that are correct. And so saying that they are sleeping is a concept that they can understand, but also is one that isn't true for this particular situation. The youth could think if that person's sleeping, then when they go to sleep, that they're going to die too, and that's not the case. So you certainly could say something to the effect of that this person can no longer eat, they can't sleep, they can't breathe, be talking about that. And also too, we're going to be giving you some resources and books that you can look at as well. And so there's a book there about The Invisible String, which is a book that you can either read to the youth or have them read it. So Denise, anything else that you want to share on this one?
No, I think it's just important, again, to be approachable and talk with the children so they can be happy, healthy, and safe. I remember my first experience with death. I was in 4th grade, and I come from a Christian background. I'm not sure what everyone's belief is, but when my uncle died, he was a painter, and my mom said that he went to heaven because God needed more painters to paint rainbows. And so it became a positive experience. And so every time I saw a rainbow, it was extra special because I had positive thoughts of my uncle.
Okay, so on to the next slide. Some things that you always want to keep in mind is, what is your goal related to having this conversation? And these goals are goals that the substance abuse and mental health services have identified. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. I knew there was an A, but I couldn't think of what it was. And these goals, we vary just a little bit because they're focused on drugs. And we also wanted to bring in that idea of risky or unkind behaviors. So keep in mind that you want to show that you're concerned about the specific issue, that you care about the youth, their health, their wellness, their safety. Show that you're a good source of information about that topic, or know how to figure out how to get more resources. And then 2, that you're paying attention to them and what they're doing, and to build their skills and strategies for avoiding drinking, misusing drugs, or doing other risky or unkind behaviors. So those are goals to keep in mind. Show your concern about the topic, show you care about the youth, show that you're a good resource or know how to access resources, pay attention, let them know you're doing that, and build their skills and strategies. So we want to zip into developmental concepts, and we can just go zip to that slide and then go on to the next one, Jen, as well. Starting with our youngest age of kids between the ages of 2 and 6, they really have not had very many life experiences, so they don't have a background of things that they can relate to. And the things that they do relate to are very close to home and those people that they spend the most time with. So mom and dad, brothers, sisters, the family dog, the preschool teacher, Miss Sue, you know, those people that are really close to them. And also, they all don't have the ability to think about abstract thinking because they're not age ready for that. So some things to keep in mind is you can reduce their exposure to news because there can be an inundation of too much of that and kids getting scared and not understanding everything. Reassure them with words and gestures. Tell them that you're safe when you're with me as your mentor. You're safe when you're with mom and dad. And hugs are a great thing if they're open to that. Address and name basic feelings like sad, mad, glad. I was reading a book to my 5-year-old granddaughter recently, and they were talking about being compassionate. And I said to her, I said, do you know what compassionate means? And she's like, I have no idea, Grandma. And I said, that means you're being very kind and thinking of others. Oh, okay. And then we moved on. And actually that book was full of feelings that were above her age group. And so it was just really good to stop every once in a while and say, do you know what that means? Nope. And then we define it better so that she understood the story. And find out what they know. And this is an important concept no matter how old a youth is. Use the simplest and anatomically correct terms, because if you're using like with the dying type of example, when you're saying that the person died, they can't eat, they can't sleep, or they won't be sleeping anymore, they're not breathing. Those kinds of things are very simple and things that they can relate to. Catch your own biases. Instead of saying that woman over there that's fat, that's a bias. In other words, just saying the woman over there seems to be having some trouble. Let's go and talk to her. Catch your own biases. Use words and concepts that they're familiar with. So if you're talking about somebody stole something, you can be like, remember that time that somebody stole your lunchbox? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, that was upset because, you know, it was my SpongeBob lunchbox and I miss it. And that. So, and then communicate that someone is in charge. So saying, hey, when we're together, I'll keep you safe. So anything on those, Denise, that you want to share?
I just want to stress that it's so important to use the anatomically correct terms, even though you may be uncomfortable with it. An example I'm aware of is that this little girl kept telling her teacher that her uncle was touching her tutu. Well, she was a cute little ballerina and, you know, wore the tutu for dance class. And at conference time, the teacher told the parents that Sally is really upset that uncle keeps touching her tutu. And the parents gasped because that's what they had named the child's vagina. So had they used common words, this child would have gotten help a lot sooner.
Great. So some other things, if you want to go ahead and advance the slide, Jen, to ages 7 to 12. And this is a huge age range because you've got the littler ones who are still a little shaky on what's real and what's pretend. And then you've got the 12-year-olds who are on their phones and seeing media and playing video games and things like that. So they have exposure to perhaps violent types of things and that. So it's a huge age range, but they also are developed more than those 2 to 6-year-olds, and they have had some life experiences that you can relate to. Those teenagers too, or those 12-year-olds are real close to teenagers. and puberty's in there, and relationships are in there, and they could have exposure to things like violent video games, or even things that have different images like pornography kinds of things that they just happen on and didn't know that, that would be shown. They can also see distressing news, and have exposure to online hate. So there's lots of things going on in this age group. And some recommendations are to wait for the right time to have a discussion. And you may think that the best time of day for you is after supper, and for them, that's their time that they want to reach out to their friends and get to know them or talk to them more about their day or whatever. But kind of be thinking about what's a good time. And one thing that I will share that it's good for this age group and the teenagers as well is to be doing something else than just having a conversation. In other words, be playing a board game together, or walk the dog, or go fishing, or play some basketball, so that you're not eyeball to eyeball or across the table from them, so that they can feel a little more comfortable, and so can you. So that even finding the right time and the right activity to do. Again, find out what they know. Create a safe space. So like we said earlier, be that approachable parent, but also reemphasize that we can talk about anything. And this is your space to express your opinions, and we can talk through them more. Provide context and perspective, and kind of helping them to understand that what is happening, how it's related to their world, and how to that maybe in 3 weeks, this won't feel quite so bad, but right now we understand that you are just having a hard time with this. Address their curiosity. So if there's something that's a really difficult topic that's very complex, but they're curious about it, then it's time to dig in and find some more information. Look for positives related to discussion, so that when you're talking about a mass shooting incident, you could even point out that there were heroes in the crowd. Somebody, helped keep the children safe, or someone helped their elderly loved one get some help. So look for some positives, and then encourage critical thinking. Be asking them questions about what else was going on, and why were people thinking this? Why was this reported this way? Let's look at what we could do. So Denise, what are some other things that you want to share with this one?
Well, I think just like we mentioned with the younger age group, it's still important with the ages of 7 to 12 to really limit that mass media, as it can have a significant impact on them, even more than we realize. And children of all ages act out things in play. So when 9/11 happened, we had many children acting that out on the playground. So we knew it was having a strong impact on them, even though we were in rural Iowa.
Great. Okay, we'll move to the next slide on teenagers, and keep in mind that these guys have had even more experiences and have started to kind of develop some opinions related to things, and certainly have more media exposure. They bristle at lectures, so we don't want to be the lecturer. We want to be that approachable parent or approachable person in their life. And some things to keep in mind is to keep an open dialogue, not just saying this is my way or the highway type of thing, to really say, hey, this is a safe place. We are going to talk about this. I want to hear what you're thinking. I've got some things that I really want to share with you so that you understand. And then to ask open-ended questions, things like, what do you think about police brutality? Getting their opinion, having them share that. Admit when you don't know, and it is extremely healthy for kids to realize that we don't know everything, but we are a good source of where to get accurate information. So be ready to do that. And then to this age group can understand the complexities of some of the topics like police brutality that I just mentioned a minute ago. What all is related to that? What are some of the issues that people are upset about and why? So talk through that with them. It's also a good time to share your values. And that doesn't mean that you have to say, I believe this and so shall you. You can express, this is how I approach this. I have also said to youth, many people believe this. And then that can give people a sense of, oh, there's a sense of people or a group of people that feel like I do, or there's a group of people that's how my grandma feels, type of thing. So sharing values is important. Also talk about their news, because recently I heard on KWWL that the legislators in Iowa are considering legalizing recreational marijuana in our state. And I took their information as being very worthwhile information. But if we looked on a website called Pot for You, it might be a little different perspective. And so you can talk to the youth about where did they get their information, and not to dismiss that they did some of their own research, but to ask, why do you think this particular person thought this way? What do you think they're trying to do from this information that they're sharing? Again, having them be those critical thinkers. And then to ask what you would do. What would you do in this situation if something happened to you, or you were able to be there when someone's bullied? What would you do? And then to explore solutions. What can happen if you use alcohol? What would be some ways to, if you were approached to do that, what would you say? What would you do? How are you going to handle that? Denise, anything else on this one?
I think that covers a lot of it.
Okay, well, next slide, we've got another situation talking about lying. Often when you talk to a youth you care about, they say things that just don't add up. Things like, I own a horse, I ride it at my grandma's. Or I have a big bedroom all to myself. And you suspect they're lying. It's best to just let it go because kids will be kids. What do you think? True or false? And what? Oh, I see some falses. Yep. You guys are smart cookies. We're getting a lot of false. Okay, and Jen, you can show what the true answer is that it's false, which sounds the funny way to say it, but that is false. And one of the things I want to share is, like with my children, I always emphasize when there was something that wasn't adding up. At our house, we always tell the truth. And that seemed to work for my kids. With other folks that might not, but it worked for us. A mentor shared with me once, she said, I don't believe that it's my job to figure out all of the intricacies that this youth that I'm working with is dealing with. For example, they had half brothers and full brothers and stepsisters and all that kind of stuff. And it was hard to keep track of everything. And the mentor kept wondering, are they lying? Are they really telling me the truth? What's going on? So to sort this out, she said, I don't think that's my job to figure that all out. My job is to see how that youth is feeling and how I can help them with solutions and coping skills related to their situation. I thought that was very wise. a good way to approach that. Denise, anything that you want to share with this one?
No, just like we gave a book recommendation, a lot of times it's helpful to talk about it through a book because they can identify with characters, and then it's easier then to put into real life.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, moving along. Preparing for the conversation, it's very important to educate yourself. To, if there's something that you're going to talk about, say it is a certain kind of drug, you want to do some research on that and get some ideas so that you can feel more comfortable talking about it. Use their age and stage as a way to guide your discussion. Make a plan, and that plan can involve that you make notes. It can be that you have an outline. It can be, how am I going to do this? I want to, let's play that board game, or let's go for a walk. What's my plan going to be? And do it however it's most comfortable to you, because some of you may going, make notes? Why would you do that? And to me, it's like, oh, I have to make notes or I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about. So it's just up to you to decide how to do that. And listening is really super important. And I kind of skipped over, remember, it's not just one conversation that you're having. Remember that it's important to have short discussions frequently and often and early. So some things on the next slide for you to keep in mind related to words that you're using with the youth is you need to be a little cautious. If you can move that to the next slide, Jen. There, thank you. To be a little bit cautious about words that you use. Instead of saying, you did well on your report card, but I know you can do better, it would be a little softer. You did well on your report card, and I know you can work even harder. It's the same stuff, but just inserting a different word puts a positive spin on it. And we will make sure that you get this this sheet in particular so that you can put it on your bulletin board or keep it in a folder of resources that you have so that you can come back to it. I think it's really good. The one thing I really want to emphasize is the stupid word. Don't even use it, because people naturally equate that whatever just happened, you called me stupid. What this says, vaping is a stupid choice. And if I heard that, I'd be like, oh, I just did something stupid. I'm stupid. Oh, no. Instead of using that word, talk about unhealthy. Vaping is unhealthy for you. And that's why I'm concerned. So it just gives you some tools to help you have that conversation go a little bit smoother. So moving on to the next slide, because we're getting close here on time and we want to make sure we get to everything, this is how we're going to look at when you actually have the discussion. Start with an opener. And that opener can be a feeling that you want to share that's either yours or the youth's. It looks like you're really nervous about your upcoming speech contest. Let's talk a little bit about that. Or point out something that you've seen or heard. I heard that Tim got kicked off the team. Tell me more about that. Ask a question. How do you feel about vaping? Are there other kids at your school that vape? So have a little opener to start off this discussion. And then another good point to pivot to is to just get some facts out there related to the specific thing that you're talking about. You can talk about risks to their health, their safety, their ability to be happy, consequences that could happen, but just give a few, because if you give too much, it feels like a lecture and then you're turned off and so are they. And so just keep it brief and then openly communicate. Use those open-ended questions that we talked a little bit about earlier. Keep listening. Ask their opinion, because especially those teenagers love to hear that. And I think those 7 to 12-year-olds too, like they're starting to form some opinions. So it's good to hear them out and hear what they think. And then to make a plan or an agreement so that you can kind of go like, okay, when this happens again, here's what we're going to do. Or, yeah, that's a good way to think of it. And related to that is to find resources together and to reassure them. So those are things to think about. Their next slide gives you just a few more things to keep in mind as you're talking. Very important to remain calm and be together. Have your feelings together. Share your expectations. Use I statements like, I feel worried when you come in late after curfew because I'm scared of what's going to happen to you out in the world. And what I need is for you to be on time. So instead of saying, you're always late, why do you do this? It becomes accusatory when you use those you statements. And when you use I statements, it's more about sharing how you feel and getting down to how can we come to a solution. Ask their opinions. We already talked about providing access to resources is great. Put things in perspective so that they realize that maybe in a month from now, this won't be quite as bad, but also you can think about right now, I understand you're feeling scared or angry or whatever the feeling is. And be honest and admit you don't know. We've talked about that before. And then to revisit the subject, and that can be part of your what your plan is. Let's talk about this again in a couple weeks or in a month or in next week, whatever you guys decide. So anything else related to this one, Denise?
No,
okay.
I think the key is listening too.
Exactly. Yep. Now we are going to look at a video, but before we do that, move on to the next slide to tell you a little bit. This boy that's in the video, his name is Tim, and his teammate Kyle got kicked off the basketball team because they have a zero tolerance for drinking. And the parents have realized that they haven't talked to their son about their expectations related to alcohol use. So we're going to just kind of listen to their conversation, hear what he uses for his opener, what some of his facts are, how he openly communicates, kind of some of the techniques that we've talked about. How's he doing with this? So Jen, I hope that this goes well and that it works. What happened?
Hey, pal.
Hey, where's Mom and Katie?
Mom's picking her up. I wanted to get you so we could talk about something.
What'd I do?
I'm not sure. That's why I wanted to talk. I heard about Kyle and why he's off the team.
Yeah?
Mom and I were surprised. We hadn't really been thinking about kids your age starting to try alcohol. Have you tried it?
No. I mean, I've been around kids that have, like Kyle. I mean, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. We realized today we haven't really been clear about alcohol and what we expect. It's really important to us that you do not drink alcohol.
Okay.
There are a lot of reasons why. Most important is that we care about you. At your age, alcohol can damage your brain development. It messes with your judgment, so you can end up doing dangerous, risky, or just plain stupid and embarrassing things. And there are consequences. At school, on your teams. Look at Kyle.
Yeah, I get it.
Good. We also know it can be hard to turn down alcohol if your friends are drinking. But all you have to do is say, no thanks, it's not my thing. You've got so much going for you, Tim. You don't need it. And your real friends aren't going to care if you don't drink.
No thanks. It's not my thing. I can do that.
I'm proud of you, Tim. Your mom and I are here for you anytime you have questions or need help. With this or anything else.
Thanks, Dad.
Okay. So what were some of the things that the dad did that were good conversation techniques?
And remember, you can go ahead and unmute and just talk out or use the chat.
Was one-on-one. Very good, John. Yep. He didn't judge. Very good. Yep. He set clear expectations and boundaries. Exactly.
He didn't blame anybody.
Exactly. Yep. He gave an example of how to say no. At the end, he said he was proud of his son. Exactly. There was one in there I missed. He shared knowledge and about brain development. Yay, Dylan. That's right. Yep.
And someone else shared he liked how he gave his son a chance to talk.
That was maybe the one I missed. Good. So he did a lot of things really well. I love too that the son actually repeated the refusal skill. I thought that was cool too in the end with their kind of thing. So, okay, we can move on to the next slide. Some things to keep in mind after talking is to reassure them if the topic is unsettling, make some time for them if they need it, because some of these topics can really be ones that you and them worry about. And so sometimes they might need just a little snuggle time, or they might need some time to just spend with you. Agree that you're going to talk about it again, and be that approachable person. So things to keep in mind related to that. Some peer pressure type of strategies that are on the next slide is that some things that can be done. This parent suggested something else you could say. You also could talk to your youth about suggesting an alternate activity, like, hey, instead of let's go out drinking, you could say, well, let's go play some basketball, kind of thing. I need to work on my jump shot, kind of thing. Blaming the parents is probably one of the easiest things to do, that kids can say, oh, my parents would freak out if I got caught vaping, because they just really don't like that. So I just can't. And making the no funny can be a little tricky if your child or your youth that you care about is a humorous person. It can fly well. Saying something like, gotta go, I've got a call coming in from the president, kind of thing, but that might not fly with everybody. So you got to keep that in mind if it works. Make up an excuse like, oh, geez, I gotta go. I got to take care of my sister, type of thing, and gather support. You can even, hey, Tim and I don't drink. We're going to go play some basketball. How about you? Denise, anything that you want to share about this one?
I think even as a parent, it's okay to make an excuse. If you know something's going on that your child's uncomfortable with attending, or you don't want them to attend. I had a situation where my child was invited to a birthday party and I just didn't feel like it was going to be a safe situation. So I reached out to their grandma and suggested she invite the children over for a weekend sleepover. And it was a win-win because the kids had a legitimate excuse. Hey, I can't come to your party because I'm going to my grandma's. And so I kind of did passive aggressive, but it worked to get everybody out of the situation.
Great. So the next slide has some resources. The first one I already talked about was Talk They Hear You. They've got lots of good resources, and we will make sure that you get this slide as well. There's also Operation Prevention Parent Toolkit, which is related to opioid problems and gives warning signs and open lines of communication, tips on how to have conversations, and then Start a Conversation, 10 questions teens ask about drug and health. So these were some good resources that were found in looking for things for us to have in our toolbox. The next slide has some children's books that are available, and you don't have to run out and buy anything. Go to your local library, or some of them are found online, so you can do that. And read them to your child, listen to them, enjoy spending some time visiting about these topics. And that would be a great way to start a conversation. Anything else on that one, Denise?
No, like I said, you don't have to buy them. You can check with the public library, the school library, school counselors or social workers. And one positive thing from the pandemic is authors and other people have read many books online. So you can check that out too and listen to it and then stop and talk with your child about it.
And then the next slide has information about our upcoming trainings. One is in March on internet safety, and the pre-registration information is there, but we will also get that to you. And then in April, we'll be doing addressing young adult issues and having some guest contributors from Luther College Nursing Department. So this is the next slide. Has the evaluation link, and we want you to hop on that right now. Thanks, Sam, for putting that in the chat. You can just go to the chat and click right on that. It will only take you a few minutes to do it. It just gives us feedback about what you liked about what today was presented and any information that you'd like to share to improve it, because we want to make it a good experience. And we know that that technology was kind of being a little sticky today. So you can say that that's what we need to improve on, and we'll figure out how we can get that done. But I think we did a good job. So if someone can, or a good job of getting that technology worked around. So thank you, Jen, and for helping with that. As you're getting done with your evaluation, think about any questions or comments that you'd like to have. We are over on our time by just a minute, so if you'd like to stay on and ask questions, you are welcome to do that. I see some people had to hop off already, but we want you to be sure to get that evaluation done. And if people would like to stay on to ask questions or share comments or concerns as you get done with your evaluation, we encourage you to do that. And thanks everybody for being on, and anyone that wants to unmute or share anything, you're welcome to do that right now.
Kathy, can you bring that screen back up for the evaluation? I clicked on it and it didn't come up.
I'd have to have Jen do that.
Okay.
And it should be www.bit.ly/ there we go,
Okay.
talking hyphen.
Try it again. Maybe I need to do it. Click on it twice or something.
Yeah, and if you go into the chat, Elaine, you should be able to tap. Yeah, I would say tap on that twice in the chat, and it should come.
Okay, it's in the chat someplace.
Yep, that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Perfect. Someone's asking about what are some resources to help for a child who's hanging out with the wrong group. We could do some research on that and get it out to the group, but I would definitely keep in mind the techniques that we used as far as, you know, sharing how you feel, what your expectations are, and ask them what do they think, and two, to really look at that that page that had the words to use, because there was an example on that of what words to use, and I'm going to see if I can find that quick. Might not be quick, but it gave an example of that. Instead of saying, I forbid you to see those kids anymore, I don't like them. What did it say? Instead of saying, I disapprove of you hanging out with that group of friends, a better way to say it is, I'm concerned about your group of friends and I worry they may not be the best influence. So kind of to help them understand your concern and that you worry is a good frame to have related to that. Anything else on that one, Denise?
No, I think just the open communication and explaining your reasoning and having clear expectations.
Okay, I think we should close things down so that everyone can get on with their day. We really, really appreciate you being here today, and thank you so much for your time, and be safe out there.